Isn't this just an absolutely beautiful flower? This is called Pride of Barbados, also known as the red bird of paradise shrub. And it's blooming right now in the late summer, early part of fall in the garden, and we're just now getting our bloom here. And it blooms, you can see here, they started from the bottom and then they'll move to the top. So this will look pretty for weeks for us out here in the garden. It's also pretty cool, right over here, there's one. It hasn't started blooming yet. Even the buds of the flowers look real interesting. Now it's really pretty, planted next to our cardoon, which is also blooming at the same time, and that's a very nice color combination. Now this is, again, Pride of Barbados, and it's a shrub that's in the legume family, and you can tell kind of by looking at the foliage that it is. We've got this nice lacy blue foliage, and also as you look closer, it looks like kind of a prickly plant. These look like very awful thorns on here. However, when you touch them, they're soft, so it's not something that's going to hurt you, which is nice, although it looks like it could be pretty hard to get along with. Now, this is a shrub that actually can take drought very well, and it's used a lot in places like California and tropical areas to add some summer color to places where they can't irrigate very well. For us, it's not winter hardy, it's only hardy to zone 9. So what we would need to do is either take cuttings of it, dig it in, or we can use some of the seeds. And right here, you can see on the flowers where the seed pods, we've got that typical legume seed here, and we should have a long enough season that these will go ahead and make. So you could save seeds from this, plant them, and you should be able to get a plant to grow and bloom for you next year. Now again, this is Pride of Barbados, and we have a related plant that actually does bloom and grow here and can sometimes be winter hardy. Now this is the shrub that I was talking about that is winter hardy here in Oklahoma. It's called the bird of paradise shrub, and it is related to our Pride of Barbados. It's a Cassiopeia, but instead of being Cassiopeia purpurima, it's Gillesi, and I probably didn't pronounce any of that right, but you can see how it's spelled on your screen. Now, instead of having the orange and red flowers, this actually has yellow flowers with the big red stamens. And again, it looks very exotic. Now the foliage on this plant is quite a bit smaller. You can see how the leaflets are much smaller than on the other plant. We still have that blue look, and we don't have the thorns on the stems like we do with our other plant. Now this is one plant that if you look it up in the books, you'll notice that it's hardy to zone 8. However, it seems to be root hardy here, and it's been planted around old homes. A lot of places you'll find this plant growing around a home, and sometimes you'll find it growing and the home isn't even there anymore. So they've been around for a long time, but sometimes they'll freeze back down to the ground. It's a lot like the crepe myrtle here. Some years they may not freeze clear back to the ground, but others they will. So what we have here in Oklahoma is kind of the shrubby look, and if you cut them back in the spring, you'll get a nicer mounding look. Now this plant is got some very long stems, and they've actually been tied to a post here to keep them up. And if you cut them back early on, then they will bush out for you and you wouldn't have to tie them up quite as much. So that can help keep this plant in check. It likes a hot location, likes well-drained soil, and it's very drought tolerant. If we go for an extended period of drought, it'll reward you by better growth if you soak it deeply every once in a while, but you don't have to. So this is a tough shrub that has an exotic look for Oklahoma.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.